we designed the product, we sourced the quality. You bring it in, and you think it's like, well, we have an amazing product. It's people are gonna. You have some Instagram stories, and people are gonna buy it. I was obviously very wrong about that. I had one friend that has a very successful ecom. He was like, you just run ads, easy. I was like, okay, well, do you know somebody that can do that for me? Because I don't know how to do that. He was like, sure, I got you.
This month's sponsor is Triple Whale. Supercharge your ad campaigns with their revolutionary analytics platform, because better data means better campaigns. If you're running any type of paid media, then you need to be using Triple Whale. Find out more at trytriplewhale.com. Hello and welcome back to the D2C Deep Dive. My name is Fraser and today we're joined by Jason Deutchman. If you are a basketball fan, then you may find his name quite familiar. That's because he used to be an ex-basketball player, but now he runs an e-commerce store called Yoga Strong, and well, he sells yoga products. Not just any yoga products. His mission is to bring new people to yoga that might not have even thought about it before. After his career in basketball had to end due to numerous injuries, he found yoga, but he wanted to fix the problem that made him feel uncomfortable in a yoga class. It's such a brilliant story and it's full of ups and downs, so I urge you to listen to this one because it's a real great one. Jason, welcome to the D2C Deep Dive. How are you doing today? It's what, 8 a.m. you mentioned where you are, LA?
It is 8 a.m. out here in LA. I'm feeling pretty good. Happy to be here and excited to go not bi-coastal, cross international waters with you.
Yes, very exciting. Currently, when we're recording this here in the UK, it's 4:20 in the afternoon. So massive difference. End of the day for me. It's only the start for you. You've got it all to come.
Yeah, you're in the future, so I'm hoping the rest of my day is going to be good. I'm sure you can tell me a little bit about how it's going to go.
Yeah, there's some bad news coming, unfortunately. But yeah, so you've been following each other on Twitter a little bit. I think you have a really interesting story, so I wanted to get you on the podcast to kind of have a chat, because if people don't know who you are, it's probably best to introduce who you are, because you're not the average ecom D2C owner that we have where this is all you've ever done. In fact, you had a career before all this, which was a basketball player. Right, so tell me about that. What happened? Like, how come you're now running a yoga company, but before you're a basketball player? How did that journey come about?
Well, unless you're Tom Brady or LeBron James, your athletic body only lasts so long. And I was definitely fortunate to play basketball overseas in Asia professionally for 7 seasons. But injuries ended up piling up, and it just became more work than it was worth, in the sense that you're away from home, you're away from your friends and your family, and it's a tough to really be part of a culture that isn't necessarily inherent to how you were brought up, and to assimilate into a completely different lifestyle, at least full time. For 6 to 8 months, it's okay. So once the injuries started to pile up, I just thought it was kind of in my best interest to, hang up the sneakers and kind of retire and kind of at least try to get on to the next part of my life. Albeit at an early retirement age of 31 years old.
Yeah, you talking about injuries, you had a few injuries. It wasn't just like what the average Joe would have. Like, reading back on your record, I mean, basketball isn't really that popular over here in the UK. I don't think we even have a basketball team, so you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit. But do you want to go through the list of injuries which you had, which kind of caused you to hang up your boots?
Let's see, we're talking 6 knee surgeries, which includes 3 torn ACLs, and as well as 2 lung surgeries. So I've seen the surgeon quite a few times. So once those start to add up, and over time, it takes its toll.
Lung surgeries. How does that have anything to do with basketball, or was that just a bog standard, we all get ill kind of thing?
No, I had a collapsed lung. They say it's spontaneous, a spontaneous pneumothorax, and they say it happens to tall, lean people. Except I know a whole bunch of tall, lean people, and I certainly don't know anybody that's had it before. But it didn't go. The initial recovery didn't go well. So they had to do a more advanced, intense surgery that essentially staples my lung shut, and it's a pretty rigorous recovery for that. So I was unfortunate there again for a second time, and that was all between the ages of 17 and 23, right in your kind of athletic prime. So it was a tough go for a little while.
Oh my goodness. But I guess kind of, you might say it's unfortunate, but it's led you to where you are now, right? Because if it wasn't for that, then you wouldn't, I imagine, have found yoga and be where you are now. So let's talk about that journey from, basketball to yoga. I'm going to be honest with you. Yoga to me, stereotypical, is a lady's activity. But
For sure.
as I am getting more and more into exercise, I see actually it's quite a useful skill to have. So tell us about that. A basketball player, you're over 6 foot, you walk into a yoga studio, like that must be the most bizarre thing for you and for everyone else in there.
Oh, it's absolutely intimidating, and especially when we're talking 15 years ago, the landscape was definitely a lot different than it is now. But
Yeah.
it's intimidating to the point where you don't want to do it. You don't want to
Mm.
go. You don't want to be active as a part of that community because you don't feel welcome. But with the injuries, I kind of had to. It was something that was recommended to me to recover from my injuries, and I actually ended up liking it. I always go back to there was three things about it. It was you get a good workout for sure. Anybody that's done it knows it's a solid workout. Your body feels good. You feel mobile. You feel flexible. And like most yoga classes, like you said, it's all ladies, it's all girls. Like what's not to like? um, but there was definitely something missing, an ingredient missing that made it really something that I could adapt to, and something that my friends would want to do. So it was always kind of in the back of my mind that once I was done playing basketball, that I kind of wanted to get involved into that community and see how we could make it more approachable for both athletes, for men, and for people that aren't exposed to the benefits that I thought a lot of people could use.
Yeah, so what was missing? What was the gap that you decided to fill? Like, because I think that's quite interesting, is that there's a lot of ecom brand owners which will bring out products, which in a saturated market, not really think about it, just think this is a bit of a money-making scheme, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. But then there's people like yourself which actually see a gap in the market and go, you know what, I'm going to fill that gap. I'm going to go through, creating a product in order to get there. What was that gap that you decided to fill?
Well, first I wasn't going to be a yoga teacher and do teach yoga for athletes and yoga for men. That just wasn't a
Uh-huh.
route that I wanted to take. I had wanted to kind of get in the products side of a business, both because I know a couple friends and actually former coaches of mine that have done well with products that they've launched into the market, as well as just my family kind of has a background in terms of different kind of products and manufacturing overseas and different things like that. So I thought it was kind of a natural extension to kind of have that groundwork and foundation built in to importing and building something from scratch. And then if I kind of combine that with my love and my passion for yoga, that we could build something that made people happy, that made people want to work out, that made people help enjoy their workout, and make it something that's celebrated. I think that in a time now where athleisure is commonplace, just as common clothes, as you see bigger forays into markets between Lululemon is now into men. You got to think 5, 6 years ago, I know I wouldn't be caught dead in a Lululemon outfit. Just the name itself doesn't
Hmm.
scream masculinity, but all these things kind of put together, thought that they were broadening a market for the kind of products that we could build, where you got that fashionable sense and functional equipment that really just kind of gave you that individual expression. And I think that's what almost everything is about, whether you're choosing the color of your car or the make of your car, or to your water bottle these days. Everything you do is an expression of yourself, just kind of how you pick out your clothes in the morning. And I just wanted this to be something else as well. Your workout is an expression of yourself, and could just be an extension of that.
Yeah, because I think we all know the embarrassment which you've spoken about before of basically going anywhere, trying to find a yoga mat and just picking whatever you can find. And it's incredible how many are just centered around females. And it's just like, flowers all over it, bright pink, whatever. They're not really orientated around anyone else but males in order to do yoga. Like, I think I have one under my sofa, and that's pink, bright pink with waves all over it. So you decided to come in there and make something individual for people. How did you go about How'd you go about doing that? What were the steps you took?
I mean, first, like you said, everybody has a yoga mat. There's nobody that doesn't have one. Everyone has one at home. It's just, it's you don't use it sometimes. It's
Yeah.
ugly. It's been gathering dust for quite a few years, and it doesn't feel good. So you kind of just toss it under your
Or
couch.
or they just don't work. There's so many yoga mats, like you get them, and it's literally just a piece of foam which is just cut to a size, slips all over the place. It's a nightmare to use. So it doesn't actually do the purpose you've bought it for.
Right. A lot of way to think about it is that people go to the lowest denominator, and that used to be in the same way as your workout clothes used to be. It used to be your worst clothes, right? You'd cut off the sleeves of an old
Yeah.
T-shirt, and that's what you work out in. But that's not really the landscape anymore. And I thought your equipment should kind of follow that direction that workouts were going into. That it doesn't have to be the lowest denominator item that you own. You have fancy swell water bottles and Yetis and stuff like that are $50 a pop, even though that you can use a regular water bottle for, a dollar.
Mm.
But you don't want to because it's about how it makes you feel. But going back to what you said of how we started, I think the first step for us was we had to work with a fashion designer in creating the prints and the patterns and the colors that we wanted to use for our initial product launch. We wanted something very modern and contemporary, something that spoke to both a younger demographic, but not being too young and not feeling too traditional. So we wanted to find a nice little balance of colors and patterns to really kind of speak to somebody. And whether that's tie dye, obviously, will be a little bit younger and a little bit louder versus somebody that just wants something a little bit more muted, but they still want to express themselves and have a little bit of fashionable sense. So we had to kind of work with a fashion designer to create patterns that kind of fit that aesthetic.
What's been the market
Um,
response so far to your product? Like, is it something which people have just taken up straight away? Have you found there's much more men buying your product than women? Like, what kind of situation are you in with the product right now?
it's actually people kind of have taken kind of a following to my story in the sense that how I kind of had the injuries. I'm 6'6", so I'm larger, 220 pounds, and they kind of see that story of like I had needed something very specific and very unique to my body type, and so we're getting a lot um, of 45 and up that have injuries that have or they're postnatal, so they've had babies, and your bodies aren't necessarily the same as they were when they were 19, when you're 19 years old. So it's people with sensitive feet, sensitive knees, sensitive hips, tight spines. It really kind of speaks to what they need when they want to exercise. And that's kind of more in terms of the functional aspects of the mat. But that's kind of why we wanted to have contemporary designs because we wanted to also speak to the younger demographic and have them kind of latch on to the designs where they can't really get anything like that anywhere else. Um, Whether that's Amazon, Target, whatever it is. I think that our patterns and colors are very unique to just the landscape of how you work out, which is Barry's Boot Camp, which is Soul Cycle. Like these are brands that are big and loud and sometimes even obnoxious, and your equipment kind of should follow your personality and how you work out.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Coming from a sports background, so you understand, the reason why people buy sports products, but the thing that you probably didn't understand coming from basketball is how to build an e-commerce business, how to market, all the other stuff that goes along with it. So like I mean, I've always been interested in this, right? So for me, it was quite a natural, I just go on YouTube, I go and learn these things, whatever. Like for you, where did you even begin? When you decided that you were going to start doing this, like I can't even imagine. Like there must have been an overwhelming amount of information out there.
The thing is, I didn't even know that there was an overwhelming amount of information. I we designed the product, we sourced the quality, you bring it in and you think it's like, well, we have an amazing product, it's people are gonna you have some Instagram
Mm,
stories and people are gonna buy it. I was obviously very wrong about that. Our kind of go-to-market strategy at the time when we launched was really based upon I had one friend that has a very successful ecom store. He started in 2006 though, so it's completely different understanding of kind of what works 15 years in versus what works when you're launching a brand.
mm.
He was like, you just run ads, easy. I was like, okay, well, Do you know somebody that can do that for me? Because I don't know how to do that. He was like, sure, I got you. So what did we do? We ran Facebook ads, spent a crap ton of money on Facebook ads only to find out, well, like, oh, this is not how you launch a product. Like it is definitely more in depth and nuanced than just running some ads, um, especially in a post-COVID world of late 2020 when we launched. That it's just like it is way more complex than that in terms of building your brand and in terms of getting somebody to actually feel something to want to make a purchase.
Yeah, so you mentioned there that you hired someone to run your ads, you started running ads. Like, I mean, that's a big step for a lot of people. A lot of people that I find anyway in e-commerce already know the ads running stuff, so that's kind of one thing they don't have to spend money on. I read on a Twitter thread that you spent like $3,500 to get someone to grow your Instagram. Like
Oh man.
that is a crazy amount. So let's talk about those mistakes because we've all been there, and that's how we learn, right? Is by screwing up and doing it again and doing it again. Like, do you think that these mistakes helped you grow to where you are now? Because I mean, personally, all the biggest learnings for me have been through mistakes.
Absolutely. Without having those mistakes, I'd probably be still doing a lot of them now. So while I'm grateful that I went through them and I was able to kind of see them firsthand because I'm a solo founder, I was the one dealing with everything myself. But I definitely wish I had the money back for a lot of those situations. Somebody that grew my Instagram with, 1,000 bots and then has to go to lawyers because I signed a contract for definitely more than 1 month on that. Definitely more than 1 month, and only to have to go to lawyers on that because they're trying to snake me some more. But like you said, it was the only way, and trying to figure it out on my own. It was just I didn't really have a route. I didn't know. You talk about Twitter thread. At the time I didn't know that there was this world of Twitter DTC and marketers and brands and agencies where you can have information. I really had nothing. It was just like, oh, if I browse my Facebook, there are ads. So it's like, well, I guess we got to do that and try to find some cool people, influencers to post about you. Didn't know how hard that was either. You pay $1,000, $5,000, and you get an Instagram story, thinking that that's going to make some sales, and it definitely does not work that way.
Where are you now in terms of your marketing efforts? Have you learned all this stuff? Have you sat down in front of Facebook Ads Manager for 5 hours and tried to battle through it? Like whereabouts are you in your e-commerce journey in terms of marketing?
Well, I definitely can run ads now. I'm probably not as good as I would like, and not as good as some of the people that we both know. But the key to learning was actually doing it, actually spending
Hmm.
money and watching it. And I probably was definitely watching it way too much, staring at it 24 hours a day. But literally watching them spend your money and what it's producing was the only way that I've kind of figured it out on my own. Because as a solo founder, you're very careful with your money. An agency that I work with, they're not careful. They just want to spend.
Hmm.
They'll spend a few thousand, and if it doesn't do results, then they'll change something and whatnot, and not necessarily even inform you of what's being changed. But actually running it myself was the first step to understanding kind of how that process worked, and kind of really getting a holistic view of how to build a brand. That's the Facebook ads and are just kind of one touch point in a customer journey. I didn't even know what a customer journey was at that time. So understanding that and then trying to acknowledge each touch point in the process allowed me to kind of take a step back and, like, okay, how do we, not necessarily cautiously but strategically and efficiently, hit each touch point so that it makes sense, that our efforts make sense, and spending money makes sense in a way that we can scale, and be profitable without just kind of blowing a bunch of cash that we don't have.
Yeah, for sure. So are you starting to enjoy it now after doing it all this time? Have you started to find a love for marketing?
A love is kind of deep. I definitely, when stuff works, it makes me 10 times
Yeah.
happier because you see the effort that you kind of put in, and to see the input and the output, and the sales come in, and I pack everything myself. So I pack the order and I'm writing a note card, and sometimes you get lucky, then they'll email in saying how great it is, or they'll post about it naturally on their Instagram. So it's like I get to see the entire process of how it started from their initial the initial touch points or top of funnel um, with the video to all the way to receiving the product. So I do get some kind of fulfillment just seeing that and how people react to the product, which has been great, which is what also inspires me to keep moving despite the missteps, is that there has been such great response to the product. Um, we have lots of 5-star reviews, and it's that's what inspires me, is that it has connected with people in a lot of different ways. Some people it's the function and quality, some people it's the color and the fashionable sense. So being able to connect directly with the customers has just been um, such a good part of the process I want to learn more about the marketing angles and how to kind of continue soaking up that knowledge so I can improve.
Yeah, and what's been working for you so far? Have you been dabbling in TikTok? Are you just doing Facebook ads? Like, what's been the biggest marketing success for you?
I dabbled in TikTok a little bit. It's definitely hard. Like I said, it's very top of funnel, it's very brand discovery. Um, and it's very challenging to find something that sticks and that has that kind of social currency that gets people talking about it and sharing it, because that's what gets you bigger onto the pay onto the FYP, and then you get those hundreds of thousands of views. Um, we did some whitelisting stuff on TikTok that actually did all right, did pretty good. But what's really been great for us has been um, YouTube. YouTube has been a very valuable resource. Number one, because workout classes are one of the most searched items
Hmm.
on YouTube. Um, and so when you get people so you have that kind of, so there, I wouldn't say that they're top of funnel. I'd say they're already probably middle of funnel, because they're a demographic that's already interested in the product. So it doesn't have to weed through as much kind of algorithmic nonsense to find the right customers and the right users. And then you do, unlike just a Google search, which does have buyer intent, you do have like influencer type trainers and yoga teachers that are on YouTube that allow you to combine what I think is the best of Google and kind of the best of Instagram influencers into kind of one platform, where they can talk about the product in their video. It can be within the description, and they can be using it. So you kind of have 3 different touch points within one video, as well as a little bit more buyer intent. So finding those people, and then you can retarget them with ads, has been kind of probably our most valuable resource to date.
Yeah, and what's it been like trying to find those influencers? Because, like you mentioned at the start, it isn't as simple as people think, that you just go out and just search and just that's that. Like, what's been your go-to method in order to find the right people for your brand and then figure out a collaboration that works?
Oh man, it's been brutal. We started out just kind of sending cold emails. I think that was kind of the only way that we could get to them, and that was the first time that we saw success, was through kind of a cold outreach. And then we seeded the product, they liked it, we kind of onboarded them into a CPA for sales, and they use the product naturally. So their audience kind of latches onto it pretty naturally as well. Um, Beyond that, it's finding, there are a lot of managers, I guess, in the sense that work with YouTube. I don't want to say YouTube stars, but YouTube channels to help them grow. So we got kind of close with one of those that allowed us to kind of go beyond, to make an introduction that was beyond a cold outreach, which was super helpful. So that was good. And we still kind of do some cold outreach, and we try to offer product, but the conversion rate on those is pretty low. But when it does work, it really does work. When people really want to be a part of it and like the mission and the brand, they really kind of dive in super hard. So even if the conversion rate is not as high as you would like on the cold outreach, the few kind of conversions that you get with people seem to do some pretty good damage.
Yeah, I've always thought for kind of sports brands, I guess, and anyone which their product goes along with an activity, that I think it's such a smart move for you to maybe look at making your own content, right? As in, yoga classes. Like, is that something that you've looked into doing?
It's actually something we just launched very recently. We not
Amazing.
on YouTube yet, but we do with all purchases, you get a kind of a free trial to our workouts that we host locally kind of in Los Angeles, but we have a lot of great teachers that we recruited to film some classes. I think we have 150 plus classes on our platform now. It's free for 30 days, and we only charge $1 to be a part of it, beyond the free 30 days. Just wanted kind of a nominal fee that requires some investments, barely anything, but
Mm.
we didn't want to make it totally free because then they don't value it. But we didn't want to make it too restrictive by charging what most people charge is probably between 10 and $20 per month. It was just to kind of get people involved with the brand, especially kind of like how we started it. This conversation was how people want to try yoga, especially a lot of men, but they don't find it approachable and they don't want to go to a class because they don't want to be embarrassed. So this is a way for them to kind of get involved with yoga and even Pilates or boxing or any other classes that we offer. It allows them to kind of get their feet wet a little bit, and gives them some optionality in terms of how you want to work out. So it's kind of getting people just full circle, staying with the brand, kind of just being involved all the way around instead of taking our products and just going elsewhere. It's like, no, they can use the product, they can do our workouts, and they kind of just stay involved in kind of a full spectrum with us.
Yeah, that seems like a really great in, right? If people have maybe seen your ad and they're not sure whether they want to make a purchase of the product yet, can they just go ahead and can they purchase the courses and then they'll see people using the products and be like, hey, I might as well just buy what they're using in the videos.
Exactly, exactly. We haven't explored kind of that inverse way of marketing it yet. We've just kind of been product to the service, but there is definitely a reverse way of doing it where guys people kind of gravitate towards the service, and then that's how they find about the product. I think that's something in line that we have moving forward. So you can kind of hit people from both angles and see kind of
Mm.
what works and what doesn't. But it's definitely something we have in store.
Yeah. What's been your major driver of kind of growth so far? You kind of launched at that really awkward time where e-commerce was doing really well, but everyone was a bit strapped for cash and the world was a little bit upside down. Like what's been the major factor of growth for you at Yoga Strong?
It's working with, affiliate partners, and if that sometimes means a YouTube channel that gets a CPA payment for every single sale, and maybe a flat fee also just for kind of general promotion. But beyond that, you have there's gifting apps that we've been a part of where they offer you gift a birthday gift digitally. And it sends them one of our products, and that's how the users choose. There's corporate gifting as well. There's a lot of workout groups as well that need products. There's a lot of trade shows that we've done, so it's kind of really diving into every different channel and finding ways that we can scale and use those channels and yoga studios and stuff like that in order to make a sale, even if it's a discounted sale, without kind of any upfront payment, like a Facebook ad where you're not really guaranteed a sale, you're just paying for promotion essentially, and then the sale is on you. But this is just when I'm only paying a CPA and only paying at the after a sale, that kind of just limits our downside. And after spending such a crazy amount on Facebook ads initially, that kind of strapped us for cash. And when the cash literally is coming out of your pocket, I wasn't an NBA
Yeah.
player, so we didn't make crazy, crazy money overseas. So when the money literally is coming out of my pocket for Facebook ads and influencer stories and whatnot, it's hard to just maintain that over a long period of time, without any guarantees. And I know that's the name of the game, but if we can find these channels that we only pay the CPA after the sale, it limits our downsize and brings us more cash flow, and then we make a little profit, and then hopefully we can invest more money into those other channels and kind of scale all the way around.
So we ask all of our guests this before we go. If you could only pick one paid channel to use for the next 5 years, what would it be and why? We've had a lot of TikToks, we've had a few Googles. Like, will YouTube be yours? Because I feel like it will do.
Yeah, does Google and YouTube count as one, or does that count as two
Uh,
different?
it's one. They own each other,
That's
right?
one?
It's one.
Yeah, they do. They do. Then I definitely say Google, YouTube, especially. I mean, Google just because of the buyer intent, and then for our category, there is a lot of just natural kind of search intent, looking for that type of product because people don't know where to find it. I think if you're in a different category, whether that's clothing or skincare, it's very hard. If you look up best skincare,
Mm.
um, you're gonna get a crazy amount of different options, thousands and thousands, best yoga mat or thick yoga mat. You're going to get some options, but I think it's much more defined and clearer, how to separate yourself, when there is that buyer intent. So I definitely say Google and then kind of YouTube as we discussed, before. So I would definitely go that way because those top funnel, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. I think they go through cycles. There's going to be another one in 5 years. There's going to be another
Mm.
version of whatever TikTok is now. So those come and go. So I think it's best to stay with something that's a little bit, um, clearer and more direct.
Massively. Well, thank you so much, Jason. It's been a real pleasure to have you. I think you have such an interesting story. If people want to find out more, they want to follow your journey, what's the best place for them to do that?
You can follow us on all our socials, our Shop Yoga Strong. If you want to follow me and see some of my valuable insights, I'm on Twitter at jdeutsch, JDEUTCH, and check out our site, shopyogastrong.com.
And that's it for the D2C deep dive. And that's it for the D2C deep dive this week. It's very hot in the studio, so before I pass out, I'm going to say farewell. Make sure that you rate us 5 stars on iTunes or Spotify, whatever you're listening to us on, or watching us. If you're on Spotify, then you can now watch us on Spotify with Spotify video. Very cool. If not, head over to our YouTube channel. But either way, thanks very much for listening. If you want to follow my journey as a entrepreneur who runs an agency, then please do. Much appreciated. Follow me on Twitter at Sal Fraser. But until next week, enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.